I have put a superpower guide as a download, but this is mainly geared to dyslexia for children. So this video is going to be geared only as a talent and a challenge for adults. So dyslexia for children will still be probably a memory when you read through it. Yes, that was me at school. Yes, I did that. But things change. And as you get older, some things become much easier, but others don't. And others have just probably led to a solution. And often it is these solutions that keep us stuck in an old way of doing it that is not always helpful or useful. So for me, the most common problem I see with adults and dyslexia are their trouble or inability to focus long enough or to focus on one task at hand. Because the mind is so creative, the mind is so big, bright and fast, that it is often quite difficult to roam it in. And that ability to focus is our first aim and will be the aim in the 1-year school as well. So there you will see it every morning as a short meditation or visualization, so that we gain a really laser sharp focus through repetition of a really easy exercise. And that way it will be coming in as a second nature. It will be coming a part of you without having to do anything. So in the beginning, yes, we are focusing on that daily, and it will be making things much easier. So I do recommend that the focusing exercise, which is giving you 3 really important tools. The tools to be relaxed and released of all the troubles and worries. The tool of having your energy in the center. So not being hyperactive, not being really tired. And the third one, of course, to have a sharp focus. And that focus has to be found, it has to be created, and has to be a place where the mind can sit in order to have that calm focus. And that place is not in the body, it is above and behind the body, but we are going to create it and reinforce it every day. Now, the second thing that often is a challenge for adults is spelling is still a mystery, or is just as I hear it, or it's done one day and forgotten the next. So spelling is really easy for auditory learners, or much easier for auditory learners, but that's not usually the case for dyslexics. They're more visual, they're creative, so they find creative way of spelling words that are often embarrassing for them. So spell checks help, but not always, because some words have different ways of spelling and a different meaning. So we focus on that as well. So how to spell, how to remember these words, and how to read them, so that we can use that as well to help us with spelling. Because let's face it, we cannot remember the spelling of every single word in English. There are too many of them, but the more we read, the more these common words become second nature. I found number 3, or just as important, the reading. Most adults I see read well. They can read often a whole page without making a single mistake. If there is a mistake, it's often mixing up a for and a from, those little words, leaving out little words like the, on, and they are often the indicators that dyslexia is the problem, because these words do not have a picture. They do not come in easily as a visual reference. So for them, these words are obviously a really important part, and the 1-year school is looking every day at a couple of these words to create an image, to master that. And the reading without full comprehension is really difficult, because reading text 2, 3, several times is one of the things most adults do. If I need to be able to recall or remember, or being tested on something, I have to read it 5 times, is usually the response I get. So they read through it, and there's a lot of effort in the reading. So the comprehension at the end of it isn't there. So they read it a second time and they get a bit of an idea what it's about, and the third time they get much more of an idea. So we want to avoid that. We want to be able to read once for full comprehension and the memory, which brings me to the next part, which is short-term memory. Memory is a different, there's a different angle to the memory. If you are in that visual field, you remember either something that is emotionally charged, so the memories from the past that are very pleasurable or very traumatic are very easily recalled. But the memory then isn't always sequential. That means it's not easy to remember it in the right order or in the right time frame where it actually happened. It's more like a big round memory, like a big tree. You remember the emotionally strong parts, but not so much and in detail too, but not so much in which way they occurred, which is not always important. But when it comes to memory of something you read, the comprehension has to be there, and that is where we are leading very much at in the second and the third term, that the reading becomes a visual memory, almost like a movie in the head, and even the most boring text or contract you may have to read can become a very sharp memory, including all details, numbers, dates and facts. So that is a really good tool to have. Another thing I often hear is emails. Writing emails takes too long. Everybody that writes an email in 10 minutes, I would take 1 hour. And then, even then, I'm not sure if it is correct, and I'm often too embarrassed to send it, or my partner reads it before I send it off. Here again, we can help, and these little words and the memory games and what we add is really geared towards that, so that the memory will be sharper, the memory will be really helping to create these images in the head, these movies in the head, so it becomes easier. And writing is often an asset. It's a real superpower. There's some excellent writers, from Agatha Christie and Shaw, George Bernard Shaw, to Yeats, to Christian Andersen. A lot of these really creative people are dyslexic. They have that idea, they have these creative ways of formulating, of bringing it across, and if they can master it, it becomes such a gift. This is something you have a huge strength in, and it can be fostered, and it can be overcome. The little challenges around it can easily be overcome, but that gift can also give you an edge in your profession, because let's face it, putting an offer out to your clients or selling something, if you can word it in a way that creates a fantastic picture in your client's mind, you have a huge edge. If you're able to be a craftsman with words, that can also be achieved, and what an advantage it will be. So the reading, the writing, the spelling, the focus are the main parts. Of course, there are others like concepts around time. We can look at, or we will look at in term 3, because time is often a bit of guessing rather than knowing and being present. Concepts like change are also important, that it is very clear where time, change and sequence and order come in. With order comes also a real clarity and organizational skills that are very beneficial in your life. So I'm really looking forward to guiding you through the entire year, if you want to also look at concepts and if you want to look at maths. Maths is not always a challenge. Quite often maths comes very easily, but it depends how it was taught at school and how you were gaining that knowledge. Some teachers were fantastic, making maths real and about real amounts, and not an abstract concept that dyslexic people would find really hard. They are not that good in rote learning like times tables. They need to understand. Like everything we do, we need to master, and it is not a matter of, well, that's how it is, do it. This is not good enough. They need to know why, they need to know how, and they need to be able to make it themselves, to make sense of it three-dimensionally or by mastering it in a much deeper way.